Hello everyone, welcome to the crafting panel. I am the disembodied voice of Dungeon Master Kelly, and yeah, I've been watching you, James.
He's all around us.
James, I saw that you got killed by a My Little Pony last night.
Yeah, I know. I got killed by Rainbow Dash. Great. What a way to go.
I came in at the end of that and was so
go.
confused as to what was going on.
Oh, I was running it and I was that confused.
Oh man, that
All
game
right,
was
so
nuts.
this is a crafting panel where you get to learn about making minis and other things that make your role playing a lot of fun. I am going to be leaving these experts to it, but I just wanted to say thank you all for agreeing to do this panel. Experts. You know what? Some of you are award winners. Some of you have YouTube channels going up soon, and some of you are just really enthusiastic people. And bunnies. So I just wanted to say thank you everybody for tuning into this panel, and if you enjoy what we're doing here, be sure to give everybody that has social media up there a follow, and also give us a follow. And don't forget that we're raising money for Extra Life, which is a children's charity that gives money to the BC Children's Hospital. None of the presenters today get a single dollar, a single cent out of anything that you give. All we get, we might get a t-shirt eventually, but like it's all for the kids, and you know, kids are future gamers. I don't know, they're kind of a pain in the ass right now.
That's true.
So, you know, help them, you know, have a better year than the rest of us have had. And with that, love you guys, have some fun. Why don't you take it away, Millie?
Sure. Oh, I'm taking it away. Cripes. Okay. First of all, this is an intervention. I have done a bunch of painting and a bunch of modeling, and I recently moved a very, very long distance and put all of my models in very safe storage that turned out to be less safe than I thought it would be. And I would love your expert advice on repairing models so that it doesn't look you know, obviously super damaged and like you've just glued an arm back on. Like what kind of techniques have the three of you used to specifically replace you know, a cannon on a Lehman Russ and a couple of arms on Imperial Guards for some reason? If you happen to have very specific advice, I would love it. But also I think we should talk about like what brings you to model painting and that sort of thing. But first, I want to satisfy my own needs. Tell me how you fix models.
Did we not do like introductions or something like that first? Isn't that standard operating procedure?
No, not at all. No, we should do that. We should do that. Okay. I'm just selfish. I'm selfish. We should introduce ourselves. Do you want to go first? You're shiny. I'm talking, but you're shiny. You should go first.
Sure, I can go first. Hello, everyone. I'm James. I am one of the role players here on Dork Tales. I'm also an educator. I do also painting and modeling and stuff like that, although I am less experienced than everybody. But yeah, so Steve has taught me a bunch of stuff.
Over the years,
I've got my models. I can go bring them over, but my painting supplies have pretty much been destroyed. Yes, flail.
Point everywhere. There.
Anyway, that's pretty much my story. I don't usually do paint models for D&D or anything like that, but I do like making and I want to learn more about making terrain and stuff like that, because that might be a nice angle I want to get into.
Well, it's really convenient because I know a guy who's into terrain.
Sweet. Okay.
Who is that guy?
Yeah.
Hang on, is he that way from me? He's that way. Him.
Wait, you're all above me, so that way.
Yeah.
He's there. Steve's there. Oh wait, no, it's mirrored.
It's okay. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Stu does terrain, so Stu is the terrain guy.
Okay, let's Stu introduce himself. Hello, Stu.
Okay. That sounds reasonable.
Hey everybody, my name is Stu. Or do I have any other names? No, not really. Just Stu. I'm with Tabletop. It's a brand new name. Sorry, Strange Bruge Tabletop. If you go to my link tree down there, you will see all of that stuff. YouTube channel, not live yet. It was supposed to be live this morning, but I got mad at editing and sound and I quit.
Oh gosh,
but it'll come up.
But
it'll come up. But yeah, I specialize in building terrain. I like to do things as cheap as I can because money is scarce.
Yes.
And so yeah, I've got tips for that kind of stuff. And I also love painting models and making dioramas. I don't do like a big Warhammer army sort of thing. I'm a little more focused on like, let's have that beautiful single character model. Not that I have anything against doing Warhammer and all that. I just, again, money is scarce and GW is expensive.
Very.
Yes, yes it is. Yes it is. Death Ray, do you want to introduce yourself?
All right, sure, I can. Hi, everybody. My name is Steve Deathray. Steve or Deathray, whatever, don't care. While Stu is into making one model look really good, I am a Warhammer collector. So I have the massive armies that are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of models just stacked up on my shelves in the processes of being painted. And I don't build terrain because I build buildings in real life, and I just can't be asked to do that. Come home and do that in my spare time as well.
Fair enough.
I think that's pretty fair. I should probably introduce myself as well too. Hi, I'm Millie. I'm bunny hearted. I'm some kind of professional internet bunny. I am also secretly Daft Punk, but don't tell anyone. I have been making primarily models for Warhammer purposes, but on a few occasions I have made or acquired models through friends for tabletop role-playing games, and I really, really love them in that kind of environment. I certainly do not feel like I am the most experienced at model making here, unless we're talking about 3D modeling, but I think that's a different conversation. And I'm really excited to be in the zone of expertise when it comes to some of this stuff, because I think I have many questions.
I mean, I've actually got a model here in front of me that I'll be working on during the stream that is 3D printed, and
me too.
I mean, hang on, let's see. It'll be really fun.
You just want to show off your projects?
Acuman, don't tell the VR2 Brood Council that I'm secretly Daft Punk. They'll get mad at me again. Ooh, okay. So Steve, are you going to show us this? And Stu as well. Are you going to show us these two like as you progress on them throughout the conversation?
Yeah, I'll be switching between my face cam and this is I'll call it a hand cam because it's like, hey, there's my hands. Look at that.
All right, that sounds lewd, but I like it. That sounds great.
Hey, easy now.
Cool. Well, that's really exciting. Maybe we should start with something simple before we get into my desperate repair all my models for me, please needs. What interests you about 3D like 3D printed or physical models for tabletop gaming, whether that be 40K or D&D? Why do you do this stuff?
I do it because sometimes I can't go out into my shop and do woodworking because I get too stressed and anxious. So sitting down with like a podcast and just painting away or cutting up some foam, it's therapy. It's cathartic. I also started playing Frostgrave. I don't know if anyone's familiar with that, but it's very terrain based. So that's one of the main reasons I started looking at building terrain. And I just pick up hobbies left and right. So.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. Same thing for me. It's a decompression. It's just a stress relief thing that I do when I get home from work and sit down, pick up a couple models, paint my way through something. And it's also, it having an entire army or a big group of single miniatures fully painted and beautiful on the tabletop. It puts a smile on your face you just can't wipe off, even with rubbing alcohol.
Gosh. I mean, you can by accident, maybe, and we should talk about that later.
Yes, how to erase those bad faces you painted on your models.
Yes, that's definitely what we should get to.
That's all of the faces I paint on my models.
Faces are hard. Don't feel bad.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. How about you, James? Do you have any particular feelings around like miniatures that you want to share?
Okay. Well, at least for me, miniatures were kind of like a spin down thing, just like I think the technical term is abnegation. Yeah, it was like an abnegation activity. So it was something to just kind of relax, kick back after work, put on a show or something like that. Yeah, so at least for that side of it. And on the other side, like the 3D modeling stuff, I'm just professionally interested in it as well. Because I teach classes on 3D modeling, but not in the kind of with a slicer build sense that you get for a 3D printer. So it's all like
okay.
Or kind of your kind of stuff. But yeah.
Yeah, well, because we're big dorks here. It sounds like we have someone who's actually entering some of their painted figurines into the art competition. That's amazing, Sushi Boy Simon. I'm so excited to see them. I'm not judging the competitions. If you want to send me secret previews, you should do it because I want to see them. Or they're probably out there anyways. I just haven't looked yet.
Oh, holy
but that's so cool. I'm so excited for it. There are a whole bunch of people hanging out with us, which is really, really lovely. Thank you all for coming. I hope you're having fun and enjoying the con so far. So I guess for myself, I really like miniatures in, like, I think I like painting them as sort of that same relaxation kind of thing where it's very tactile, it's very physical, it's an easy thing to get yourself lost in. But I love how they can make a role-playing game feel grounded in a way that's pretty unique. Like, I think it brings a lot of the same advantages that playing a game online can bring, but in such a directly tactile way. And you can get this a little bit with like the Pathfinder cardboard standees that you can buy giant books of or something like that.
I have
putting
giant
the time
books of those.
in to paint a model of your character that you're then moving around in a physical space, I think really like gets you invested in the game in a unique way. I think it's really cool.
It's true.
Yeah, and I think to kind of expand on that, having the terrain as well instead of just a piece of graph paper that you're drawing on, it really, as soon as I kind of realized that was a thing you could do, I was like, what? This is amazing. Like, it's not for everybody. Theater of the mind is absolutely great, and I've done it for the last 15 years, but it's something about having that, like, here's a pile of rocks that my character can climb is just, it's really cool.
Yeah. Oh gosh, I think so too.
It also adds another aspect to it of like line of sight. Is that guy actually hiding behind that, that little wall that you can't see?
I mentioned frost rays, and that's why it's so
him? No, I can't see him. So there you go. Like, it adds a third dimension to a role-playing game that has 0 dimensions when it's in your head.
That's actually something I hadn't thought about at all, is the idea of using that like the fully laid out space, because usually if I'm doing this we have like an image for the dungeon or something like that, because I don't have the whole terrain thing built, and then we would have individual character models. But I think having the terrain built really adds something to combat in an interesting way there. That is really cool.
It's true. When I had first moved to Vancouver, I ran I dungeon mastered a game of Pathfinder, and I believe it was like a Curse of the Mummy's Tomb. I can't remember exactly what it was, but there was that's a good one. There was a combat scene in the city streets where there was people up on buildings and people down in the streets, and it was an ambush scenario, and it was really difficult to figure out who was up and who was down and who was shooting from above, and
who's hiding behind that dumpster.
Who's hiding behind that dumpster in Cairo? I don't know how there was dumpsters at the time, but yes. But having the 3D stuff would have been really handy. So even if it was just like 3D boxes to represent buildings and where people were standing, would have helped quite a bit.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh god, I mean, I'm just thinking of that in a game that I was in literally yesterday, where we had a very vertical combat because there was water involved. And if there's a way to model that verticality to it, I think it would have been really interesting. And what the DM ended up doing, and I think it worked pretty well, is having a top-down map and then a side map. But you have to like keep them both perfectly in sync, or it doesn't quite make sense. And of course, we're playing Pathfinder, and we're worrying about measuring distances for our like channeling positive energy and all of that stuff in 3 dimensions because of the nature of the combat. And it became just such a complicated thing to try to figure out what the heck we could do on our turns. And I can only imagine if we had something where we were actually in a physical place where we had like a stand to put a model on. That could have been very, very different.
Yeah, for sure. True. So I was thinking maybe a great place to start for anyone who wants to start painting their own minis, even if it's just their own character, and to hell with the rest of the party. It would be like, what do you need? What do you need to start? How should you start? What are things you should be looking at? Because when I first got into doing this, I went online. I was like, wow, there's a lot of info out here, like YouTube, and just even going to companies like Reaper, like they've got thousands of models. Then you're like, what do I do? How do?
Yes, I mean, between Reaper and Bones, they also come with a line of pre-painted models that are painted.
Sort of. Yeah, I have some of those.
They have paint fine on them.
I've painted worse.
I have painted worse many years ago.
I definitely have some guardsmen that look, probably worse. Where I'm just like, yeah, it's fine. They're like just a helmet. You don't have to worry about the rest of them.
You look at him and you say, "I'm sorry, you will be the first one to die."
Yeah, exactly. You are the most disposable in the squad. Carry on.
Yeah. So as far as paints go, like, what do you guys use? Like, what's your go-to paint? Because that's something that I see asked a lot. Like, what kind of paint should I use?
I mean, I guess for me, coming mostly from painting for Warhammer, I'm using like Citadel paints primarily. But I've mixed it in with some various art supply paints and that sort of thing on different models. I try to use the same type of paint on the same model. I've had like horror stories trying to mix different brands, but I don't know. What about you, Steve?
I primarily use the Citadel, like the Games Workshop and Warhammer line of paints. I have some Vallejo and Army Painter bottles, loose ones here and there, generally looking for a specific color, or in the case of the Vallejo, it's looking for a white that doesn't turn out very chalky, because white paints are typically quite bad.
I've noticed.
But it was pretty good.
For the most part, my line is almost completely the Citadel Games Workshop line of paints.
Right, probably very similar to mine then.
Probably
you
very
can
similar.
Mix them quite well and get some interesting colors out of it.
You can mix them very well. I have actually just recently been going through the process of. Hang on, I will show you. Putting all of my Citadel paints into dropper bottles.
Yes.
Nice.
Oh, that's a really good idea.
Yeah, that's one of the things I really hate about Citadel paints is those bottles.
Yes, the little paint pots, their lids don't seal nicely, and I have a very, very frantic and all over the place method of painting and hobbying. So when I put paints down, it could be for 10 minutes, it could be for 5 years, and when I come back to them and they're dry and goopy. So,
there's one good thing about those Citadel paint bottles, though. They're great for repurposing into. I can't do it. Great for repurposing into other things. Like that's actually a base a whole lot. I got nice.
It's getting partially green screened right now. It's not like
I'm sorry.
What is it?
Angels. I'm a monster.
I'm trying to see what it is. Like a defense turret. I can't see
it's a defense turret. I made a little like heavy bolter turret.
Oh my god, I love it. That's so cute.
I can't remember the. Yeah, I can't give you
I'm all into using all kinds of stuff for terrain and whatnot. Like, again, I like to do things on the cheap. So like I literally throw leaves in a blender and mix it with paint to make flocking, right? Like it's
nice.
That's really common,
I never actually considered doing that. I was going to ask you guys about flocking. That's a good way.
We'll touch on that a little bit more.
Totally.
I'm going to talk a little bit about what kind of paints and stuff I use here as well. So I don't really use GW. Again, cost prohibitive. It's a little more expensive than some of the other guys. Then I just hate the pots and don't want to go through the work of putting it in the dropper bottle. So I mostly use Vallejo. That's how it's technically pronounced, I guess. But most people throw in the L, which is fine because I usually do too. But yeah, so that's it there. Like I got a set 16 colors on Amazon. It was on sale for like $60. But honestly, if you really want to get started and all you can get is like the craft paint that you can get at Michael's or whatever, like it's not great paint, but it'll get it done. And this is what I use exclusively for terrain. I don't use the nice model paints on terrain. But I've seen models, I've painted models with craft paint. It's better than not painting anything, honestly. Like you can definitely use it. I would recommend ponying up the extra money for a nice set of paints. Like you guys use your GW, Vallejo. Army Painter I haven't used a lot. Don't like Reaper's paints much. But I hear really good things about Scale 75. Someone in chat is just talking about Reaper
right now.
Oh yeah. I can't have the chat open because my computer's on the other side of the room.
No worries. I mean, so I'm partially wearing like a mini facilitator hat, so I'm going to try to keep an eye on chat as well as this here too.
Yeah, I'll do the same too.
And brushes too. Like you can absolutely go and get the fancy artist sable hair brushes. A lot of professional mini painters who go for like the golden demons and stuff swear by them. I tend to use cheaper brushes. I get ones from Michael's often that are like I think $11 for a pack, and then I use like one or two of those a lot. Sam Lenz, who's a professional painter, I don't know if you guys are familiar. He does a lot of stuff with like Golden Demon and paints a lot of really beautiful models. He's gorgeous painting, funny guy, but he exclusively uses cheap brushes that he gets on Amazon too. So like, don't think that you have to buy all this expensive stuff to get started, because you really don't.
Yeah, I was about to say, I've definitely painted models that I'm extremely happy with using like a couple of like makeup liner brushes that have been fantastic for it, with such a sharp point on them, because you're using it for eyeshadow and eyeliner, right? Like you need that sharp point, and it needs to be rigid, and it is perfect for doing little like facial edges and lines and stuff.
Yeah, definitely. Makeup brushes are also very good for dry brushing, which is one of the techniques that I use almost to death. It's ridiculous. And I also have just these chunks of packing sponges that I've used from time to time as well. I use them specifically today. I will be using them for a blood and gore effect on my giant feral vampire model. But
that's exciting.
I have a there you go. There we go. There we go. We do this. Just push him out of the way for a moment and bring in.
Oh, lovely.
Bring in Reginald here.
Ooh, of course, the name is Reginald. Hello, Reginald. It's nice to meet you.
So Reginald is a cannibal, and he is blood and gore. And I mean, the blood and gore, it was a sponge dipped in, well, blood and gore paint, but
or dipped in blood and gore. But we won't judge you for that. That's fine. That's the real art. The real artistry is the blood and gore you found along the way.
Many things.
I use real blood on my minis. I don't know about you guys.
Well, like you got to get the authentic red. Yeah.
Weirdest story for a serial killer ever.
I guess there was a question in chat about washes. People trying to make washes rather than using one that's purpose made. I do use purpose made washes, but especially for terrain, those little bottles aren't going to cut it. So I do make my own washes as well. So the one I use, it's in this jar. This is a drop of dish soap, which is breaks the surface tension. It is distilled water, or just tap water if you don't want to go out and buy distilled water. And then some black and brown artist acrylic ink. You can get any colors. You can make any washes. You can go a little bit fancier and buy certain things and make washes that perform very similarly to like Null Oil. Or I often use the Army Painter washes. I quite like their range of washes. But yeah, like again, do stuff on the cheap. You can make a wash just with paint as well. Water it down a bit. That drop of dish soap.
The really important thing is the drop of dish soap.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you get weird.
I would say that's mostly what I've done. Is I've just taken paint, just soap, water, and done it on the cheap.
Yep.
Okay.
We have another question from the chat. And I apologize if I mispronounce this. Emricina?
I think it's Emricina. Yeah.
Emricina? Pardon me. I have a difficult time dry brushing, and I've only done it a couple of times. Tips for dry brushing?
I mean, yes. We'll put that one on hold because I will be doing dry brushing on this model. So when I get there, I'll just sort of wave my arms and be like, "Hey guys, I'm going to do some dry brushing."
Cool, awesome.
And no sense in rushing into it. This is hilarious because I'm about to start washing this guy with a shade, and then I will be going on to some dry brushing once the shade is dry in 10 minutes or so.
Okay, awesome. So perfect timing.
Perfect timing. So I'm going to take my 50% Agrax Earthshade, and I'm going to get started on that. So I'm just going to flip my cameras and start doing my shading.
Yeah, and for sure, and always remember to shake your paints too, because the pigment will settle and separate.
I love the sheer amount of determination for the shaking that's going on there. But if you're not determined to shake your paint, then it's not going to work. You have to put heart into
yes,
paint.
you do.
I'm still working on
building an electric tool that will shake my paints for me, but I haven't gotten there yet.
Oh, here's a tip for that. Get a jigsaw, find a cheap jigsaw, and just tape your bottle of paint to the jigsaw blade and go for a second. Done. Go.
On the note of shaking your paint, as I did move everything over into dropper bottles, I put a stainless steel nut in there. So when I shake it,
yeah.
Oh, that's a really good idea.
There's a nice agitator. There's a nice agitator.
I might start doing that. I have not.
Agitate your paints. Agitate your paints.
For sure. Another tip I'd have for anyone getting started. One thing I see a lot is people not cleaning their models before they start. So what I mean by that is not just scrubbing it down, which you should actually do too, to get any like oils from your fingers or any mold release from the factory off. Bit of soap, toothbrush, scrub that off. But I'm thinking mostly about like mold lines on minis that you've purchased. There's nothing worse than seeing a beautiful paint job ruined by this big seam running down the side of a character's face. It hurts in the soul.
It does. Actually, I can come back to Reginald for this one because he was probably one of the worst models to do this on. Clear my stuff all out of the way here. He had the biggest mold lines ever, and even like, and see if I can get a good shot of what you're talking about here. Let me adjust my focus, but just
okay, I think you can see a little bit of it.
Hang on.
It's basically taking my whole vision right now.
It is. And I get a pokey stick. Oh, come on. There we go. Right in here along this bone, there's just a big long seam.
Oh yeah, I can see it.
Oh, that's so rough. Yeah.
It's where the left and the right half of, or the top and bottom, whatever orientation it is, of the mold sits. And it's just where two things meet, there's a line between them, and that's what it is. And cleaning them off takes forever. And this guy is significantly fiddly.
I find the like the WizKids Nolzers ready to paint ones. Those ones are really bad for mold lines and just like big seams and stuff that you need to fill in with like some sort of putty, like green stuff. You'll see green stuff talked about a lot when you start doing this kind of thing. It's a fantastic product. It's basically a 2-part epoxy that you smoosh together with your fingers, and it forms like a sort of a clay that you can then mold and whatnot. Also,
I used to fill in those gaps or to make spare
or to make repairs. Or to make repairs, right?
Going back to
absolutely
that. Great.
We never really did finish off that question about repair.
Yeah, we should get to that later. Yeah. I feel like we have so many questions from chat that we should touch base on too. Do we want to touch on that really big one about 3D printing, or do we want to start with the one about where you get your dropper bottles, Steve?
Well, the dropper bottles is really fast and easy. I purchased mine off of eBay. You can get them from Amazon. I have a dislike for Amazon at the moment, so
fair enough.
I went through eBay. I think it was $12 Canadian for 50 dropper bottles.
Oh, that'll do you for a while.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
I have 3 left.
Never mind. Dropper bottles for days. And yet to be out.
So I guess this is a really perhaps big question. I don't know. How do folks feel about 3D printing? Do you feel like it's changing miniatures for the better, for the worse? What do you think of it?
So I personally love it. Like, so I have a 3D printer. We kind of crowdsourced it through my D&D group, where it's kind of like, hey, I will learn how to do all these things, and if you guys want to pitch in, $10, $5, $20, whatever. It's funny because my wife actually sent this comment to me, and I was going to answer it anyways. So yeah, we all just kind of chipped in. The 3D printer lives at my house. Everyone who chipped in can request models, basically print on demand kind of thing, right? So I love it, especially for like trying to make that specific character for your D&D game. Like, hit up Hero Forge and like custom build it, pay $7 for the file, print it out, and off you go. I've done that with a few characters now that myself or other people in my group are playing, and it's wonderful.
I got a question for you, especially for given the terrain, right? Like one of my problems with terrain is that a lot of the kind of traditional way you would do it, you'd get one piece which looks wonderful, but it's not distinctive enough. Like, so, you know, you kind of like, I just used that last time, but I only have so many pieces, right? So I've been looking at like some of that 3D modeled modular terrain, right?
Yeah,
where
absolutely.
it's like you can fit it together, and having a 3D printer to churn that stuff out makes it so much more practical to do.
If you're gonna do terrain, like I have a resin printer here, but if you're doing a lot of terrain, I would recommend the FDM printers. Those are the ones that have like the big spool of plastic that feed it through the heated extruder. Because they generally have a larger print bed, so you can print bigger pieces, and your quality is not quite as important as you would want for a resolution on a mini. Like this mini that I'm painting right now, I printed at 0.05 millimeters, right? And I think Deathray, you said yesterday yours was at like 0.025.
I have minis that I've printed at 0.025. The mini here in front of me right now is 0.05 as well.
Yeah. Okay.
And
yeah.
I didn't want to wait 17 hours to print him for 17 hours per piece.
Yeah.
So I actually have a question related to 3D printing. Does it change how you paint a model if it's 3D printed compared to if it's coming from a mold?
No, because you still have quite a bit of cleanup on a 3D printed model, because you have supports on them that you have to cut away and like file off the little nubbins or fill any little holes that you accidentally made by removing those too aggressively. So it doesn't really change the way I approach it at all. I just tend to be better sculpts.
this guy's wing broke into about 6 different pieces that I had to glue back together again. Afterwards. I'm gonna reprint the wings and redo the model another day, but for right now this will.
There are ways.
Do you feel that different kind of paints work better on different types of 3D printed material? Because I know there's lots of options for what you print with.
I've really only used resin, so I prime everything anyway.
Yes, exactly. As long as you prime it, you can use any kind of anything, because Games Workshop has used white lead or pewter, plastic, resin. I've seen even brass pieces from their Forge World sort of affiliated stuff. And as long as you do a proper prime on it, there's no difference in putting paint on it at all.
And no worry about certain paints reacting with the plastics, right? Because I thought that was a thing.
That's true.
If you're buying Reaper's Bones miniatures, the white soft ones specifically, they have Bones Black now, which are beautiful, nice crisp models, but again, quite a bit of cleanup. But Reaper's Bones, like if you're using an aerosol, like just a rattle can, like one of these guys here, that's not going to do you so well on those. It doesn't cure properly. They go tacky, and technically they're fine, but yeah. And
well, that's good to know. So I don't have a 3D printer, but there's so much overlap with the kind of like 3D modeling stuff that I'm doing anyways. Like I'm looking at converting Hero Forge models into VR chat avatars and into VRM models for people to use that way in online gaming, which I think is really, really cool. And now I'm looking at this going, I basically have everything except for a 3D printer. I want to
do it.
Like, I kind of want to just print this stuff. I want to 3D print me. That sounds great. Can you imagine there being a bunch of 3D
I made a version of myself on Hero.
Take the plunge.
Now, watch out. I actually was looking into some stuff on Hero Forged about Hero Forge actually holds ownership over the models, so you got to be careful.
Yes, it's not something that I think people are planning to use in a professional capacity so much as that. It's a couple folks have basically requested that I figure out how to do it, and I'm like, I will give it a shot. And we've got some of it going, but the models are not really ready to be rigged, so it takes a lot of work, unfortunately. But that is fine.
Yeah, as far as priming your models too, like for a long time, I just use like basic flat primers from like Walmart or the hardware store because they're relatively inexpensive. But I recently bought these Army Painter rattle cans, and the difference is just they go on so much smoother.
Yeah, because they're designed to go on smoother.
Exactly, right. They're not designed for painting a propane
They're
tank.
designed to, as they dry, they shrink.
Yeah.
And they hug tight to the models.
Yeah.
Whereas
that's really cool.
The primers that they pull on, like say you buy at Walmart or Canadian Tire or Home Depot, Lowe's, whatever, right? They're designed to go on typically thick, and in some cases even expand. Like if you're not careful and you buy the wrong can of like gap filling primer from Home Depot, you may end up with just
end up with a blob,
flat blob that you'll have to throw away or strip down.
Yeah.
That being said,
that's when you just become super, super strategic with it. You decide that one Imperial Guard is clearly some kind of stealth trooper wearing, I don't know, a ghillie suit. There we go. Let's throw a bunch of grass on there.
Flock him and walk away from it.
Yeah, and then he will be the second one in the squad to be killed when the squad gets hit with a mortar attack.
Now, gap filling primers do have their place, though, like especially if you're 3D printing terrain and using an FDM printer, which have much more visible layer lines. Spray some of that on, sand it a little bit. It'll really help smooth out some larger stuff like that. Cosplay as well. Like I've watched people make helmets. They just print the helmet in a couple sections, put it together, and then a lot of sanding, a lot of gap filling.
Yes.
So there you go. Yeah. Cosplayers get a 3D printer.
This is going to turn into a thing I'm going to need to do one day, isn't it? We'll see. We'll see. I got too much virtual stuff to get first, but I do like the 3D printing. It's pretty cool.
I've been having a lot of fun with it since I bought mine. I've been having quite a lot of fun with my 3D printing stuff and then painting it. And
it's a lot of fun. So
I think
it's changing the way we paint and make games and play games? Absolutely. Some people are worried that it'll put big gaming model making companies out of business. I don't think so. Not everyone has the time or the inclination to learn how to use a 3D printer. They're not 100% plug and play, right? Like,
and they also take up space as well, which is a big factor in a lot of places. Like the space that it takes up. If FDM printers.
Yeah.
The filament printers, they run at high heat. So when you're using them in the summertime, having a 200-degree oven on your kitchen table is not the greatest of ideas.
Especially depending on the type of filament you're printing with. Some definitely need higher heat. Like I think ABS needs higher heat than PLA does.
Exactly. Yeah.
Huh.
Would you guys ever consider using ABS for those kind of models though? But like, I guess for terrain, which might survive a bit better, but how does ABS perform compared to PLA for doing like details and such like that? Is there any difference?
So I don't have an FDM printer, so I'm not super knowledgeable about it. I don't know, Deathray, if you've used one at all.
I own one. It's sitting up on one of my shelves.
Nice. Yeah, you take that then.
I take that one. So I was actually having this conversation with a friend of mine the other night. The FDM printers, PLA has one minor defect when it comes to smoothing everything out, and that is that it doesn't react with any chemicals. If you put ABS into a container with I think it's acetone, like just the vapor of the acetone will soften and smooth the layer lines of an FDM printer, whereas PLA will just get soft and rubbery, and then you've just got an elastic band model instead of something that's nice and smooth. They're so, short of spraying it and then spraying it with some filler, or I've seen painting resin onto the FDMs and then using a UV light to dry it to smooth out the lines. There is that immediate thing. The other way to get around it would just simply be to paint it a certain way. So dry brushing doesn't work very well if you have really thick layer lines, but just sort of stippling or stabbing color into it helps to mask the lines and the presence of the lines.
Okay.
Yeah, but if you're stabbing and stippling, don't use your nice ones that you use for painting your little models.
Yeah.
Use a cheaper
nice brush. Don't use your nice brush. for stippling. Use the $4 one that you bought, or the $4 pack that you bought from wherever, or makeup sponges, or
Yeah, and I think I mentioned it before too, but if you're doing resin printing for minis, again, they can be quite fragile. My niece dropped one yesterday. She's 3. She's playing with it. I don't care. It's fine. Snapped right off at the feet. So I glued them back together. He's fine. You can barely tell. But they can be quite fragile. There are ways to make them less fragile by mixing different types of resin. But those more durable resins cost more, so I have not picked any up because it's like $80 a bottle versus like $40 a bottle. So
yeah, that's a pretty significant increase.
Yeah,
and especially if you're not expecting them to be exactly like in a spot where they're constantly being hit by a 3-year-old. Like,
so
yeah,
I see Kelly. You need help doing a Doom guy costume.
yeah,
let's do
cosplay.
it, man. Let's put that together. That'd be fun. I
want to
don't
see
actually
it, so you
do any
better do
cosplay,
it.
but I want to build stuff for it so bad. So let's do it.
So are we at the dry brushing state? The dry brushing state?
Not
now?
yet. He's still wet, so we got to give him some time to dry first. Otherwise, I'm just going to have a big sloppy mess.
Well, what I will do, I don't have anything that I'm ready to dry brush right now, but I'll show you some dry brushing and give you some tips. So this is a piece of terrain I did.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah, thanks. I'm
oh wow, yeah, that looks amazing.
Again, flocking all homemade. Like I don't generally buy flock because I'm cheap, and dried leaves are free in the fall. So
yeah.
Actually, I think the flock on
leaves
this
are
one
free
was
in the fall. You have to dry them yourself.
Posture check.
Yes, true.
Yeah, we got to check our posture. Yeah, that's how Twitch goes.
I think the flocking on this one is actually I took the grass from underneath my weed whacker and I dried that in the oven. And I threw it in the blender, and that's where all the
I love that. I love that.
From.
That's amazing.
But yeah, so for dry brushing it, James, you were saying that you struggle with that a little bit, or was that someone else in the chat?
That was someone in the chat. But yeah, okay. I'm still learning it too. So yeah, go for it.
Okay, cool. So
gloriously incompetent.
It's gonna work better on things that are highly textured. So like you can see like the bricks on this guy. Let's make sure it's in focus a little bit. This is not a smooth brick wall, right? There's a lot of texture here. I've textured each brick with an aluminum foil ball to give it even more texture. And that's going to catch all those high spots are really going to catch your dry brush. And they're also really going to, all the low spots are really going to hold your washes. So stuff like this is just fantastic for that. Let me show you the brushes I use for dry brushing here for terrain. I don't do it so much on minis. Unless it's a larger mini, they tend to be a little bit of a mess.
Now, just so you're doing that, just kind of curious, what is that? What did you make the wall piece out of? Like, is it just like resin 3D printed, or?
No, my friend, this is my super cool. This is insulation foam that you buy at the hardware store. XPS foam. This one specifically is it's the blue kind that you get from Lowe's. I got a piece of it right here. Hang on. So it's just this foam. It's nice and dense. You can, like, I just put some nice scratches in there so you can add texture. I find that this blue stuff doesn't hold quite as much texture that you're trying to put into it as the pink stuff at Home Depot. And the availability of this stuff really varies on where you live too. Like if you live somewhere quite hot, it might be a little harder to find some of this insulation foam in your hardware stores because they don't build houses with it as much, right? They're like, oh, we don't need to insulate as much.
Just as a point, the pink foam and the blue foam, they're different densities of foam, which is why the pink one holds texture better than
exactly. Yeah, the blue's a little more elastic.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah.
There's the pink stuff.
Okay.
But it'll take your texture a little bit better. But yeah, that's what this is. So I just cut out with a knife. Some people say that to do this, you got to buy a hot wire table cutter. Again, I'm cheap, so this is just done with a knife, and it looks fantastic. Like, I would love a hot wire table.
Fix my camera.
I might build one or buy one at some point, but don't let it stop you. Don't let anything stop you if this is what you want to do, right? This is literally foam and stuff I found on the ground and popsicle sticks, right? Like this is a kid. You can find all this in a kindergarten class. And it's wonderful. But for dry brushing, so I use for terrain, super cheap brush from the hardware store, right? It holds paint well, cleans easily, and really catches all these little craggy edges. So this is my favorite type of brush, just these chip brushes. I'll also use the big poofy
Yeah, it looks like Steve has a very similar one over here.
This one's actually the Games Workshop's specific scenery brush, large.
Oh, yeah. Mine was like a buck.
I broke the end off of it, so I've just got a cap on it so it doesn't have a sharp edge.
Yeah. So yeah, don't let prices stop you. Just find the cheaper way to do it, and you'll have fun. It's about having fun. Also, I have a super cool high-tech technique for when I cut these individual bricks to add texture to them. Let me find that and show you. I think it's underneath my desk.
Yeah, I'm getting ready for the technical knowledge here.
This is gonna just blow your minds.
Oh,
I'm prepared.
Y'all are just gonna lose it. Hang on.
I can only hold this expression for so long.
All right. Are you guys ready?
Okay.
Here it is. Super high-tech brick texture device. This is a coffee can in which I have piled rocks.
Put a minute, shake it.
I see where this is going.
You put the bricks that you've cut. I don't have anything pre-cut right now, but you take your bricks and you put them in there. And this might get loud, but I'll hold it away from the mic. Just do that for like 5 minutes. You got some perfectly textured bricks. It's
wonderful.
You can shake your paints at the same time while you're doing that too.
You could, absolutely.
You can do it 2 for 1.
Just tape them all together and take them.
Excuse me. Yeah. So yeah, that's texturing. The more texture you have, the better your dry brush is going to turn out. The real secret, other than using a brush that you enjoy using for it, is try to get as much paint off of your brush as you can. Like really load it up with paint, then have a paper towel set to the side and just wipe it off until barely any paint is left on here. I usually test it on my arm. Like after a day of painting, my arm and hand are just from here, like from elbow to fingertip, just paint. Because I'm seeing how much paint is left on the brush and then go at it. And I usually try to go from the same direction as well, depending on what I'm painting, just so that you get more natural looking highlights. And then I shift between a few colors as well. Like I'll start with like a lighter gray if I'm doing rock, then I'll move into like sort of a light tan color and follow it up with an off-white ivory sort of color. That way you get more color variation, a little bit of warmth. Just looks better. And then I'll usually throw my wash on top and then let that dry, do it all again. Just for a lot of different levels of color.
Yeah, okay. That's a really good technique. I find when I was dry brushing that I would always deeply underestimate how much paint was left on the brush. I'd be like running a couple times with the paper towel. It's totally fine. And then put it on the model. So my arms always ended up looking very similar to yours at the end. And there was still too much paint on the brush. There'd be like that one section where the shading was completely ruined because there was a little bit too much paint on that one piece of the bruch.
Just a little bit.
Then it turns into wet brushing and is no longer dry brushing.
Well, yeah,
which is a different technique.
Wet brushing just sounds really, really bad. Like brushing sounds fine, dry brushing sounds fine, but wet brushing does not sound fine.
Sounds weird. I don't know if I like where this panel's going.
And for the record, wet brushing is it's the same basic technique. You just leave slightly more paint on your brush. I think it's also known as overbrushing.
Yes, overbrushing.
Okay. Yeah, I know that one. Yeah, wet brushing was new to me, and I was like, explain.
Yeah,
like dry brushing, but wetter.
It's like dry brushing or weather.
Okay.
It's wet brushing. Duh.
It's just regular brushing. No, it's not. Okay, and Am, I'm glad that you're here. You're here with me on the suffering zone.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I see here someone said that texturing rocks or shaking your paints is great for when the kids are visiting or something, or just shake this until your mom screams.
Shake this until you're tired.
Yeah. Exactly.
Well, it gives them something to do. Well, and it gets them involved in the thing too, right? Because especially if you're hanging out with little peeps who are watching you paint things, they're going to want to join in, most likely.
It's
yeah,
true.
like my niece comes over all the time, and we play. Like, I had to stop working yesterday because she just wanted to play with my minis and the stuff I was building. So it's like, okay, we're done then, I guess.
A friend of mine, his 3-year-old, is a big fan of opening the paint pots.
Yes.
Oh.
Not closing them, just opening them and then leaving them to dry.
Well, closing them is the boring part. I can relate to that.
Yeah.
I
I only let my niece
this.
play with the Jeep paints.
Oh man.
Yeah. All right. Wow.
Are you ready to show your dry brushing yet there,
I
Desiree?
don't know. Let's see how he's still looking wet, unfortunately.
Oh, what a damp boy.
He's,
All right.
Yeah, he's got
Yikes. Wholesome panel.
This is
As I was
extremely
torturing Amy in the chat here, he's a moist boy. Sorry.
Yes, a moist boy. Yes, take that, Amy.
Why this? Grapes. Okay.
What did
Well, I mean, if we're waiting on models to dry for more dry brushing, do we want to talk about repairs? Or
Would you like to talk about repairs?
Let's talk about
Please,
repairs.
I need help.
Well,
all right. So okay.
No, go ahead.
What? Okay. So there was the one that got. I'm not sure exactly what you call removing the entire chest area from that one.
Bisected by the winter, I think. Basically, that box might have frozen. So
thermal cracking.
I'm quite impressed that almost all of the paint is fine, but it's like some of it's where they clearly scuffed against each other, where like the little like barrier between models did not quite hold up. Because they were in like a significant move and moved multiple times, et cetera, et cetera. I'm not surprised some of that stuff failed, but some of the breaks are quite interesting, or finicky, like a wrist snapped or stuff like that, where it's like, this is going to be difficult to fix just right.
Yeah. And it's going to be one of those things where you're going to have to fix it. And when you do, you're going to have to go back in with your paintbrush and touch up spots where the glue.
Should we talk about?
You decide to turn it into just a feature, like, oh yeah, he's just wearing like a weird bracelet. It's fine. Not a bug.
He already is on the other wrist because this happened on the other side of this model once. So the other wrist has an inexplicably slightly buff gauntlet where he's got a plasma pistol and he's like, yeah, pew pew pew, let's do this. He's got like a super cool plasma pistol gauntlet just for some reason. The other hand's just a hand. Well, it was just a hand. Now I guess maybe I'll have 2 gauntlets.
That sounds more like you. It sounds more like you put the plasma pistol was from like a different range, like a Space Marine range or something like that. So he has a gauntlet in his hand. No? Oh my god.
No, it's guard.
Oh no.
Sergeant.
Or lean into it, like remodel it. So he's like missing his hand and he's like,
yeah, could be. He's supposed to be holding a dramatic flag. This is the tank commander, Lehman Russ. Got to have a dramatic flag.
Yeah, fair enough.
Right, you've even fought this Lehman Russ before.
Did I?
This is the one that I put like the Vulcan cannon on the front of to just shoot like 40 dice worth of bullets at everything.
Did we play against each other?
I think you fought it. I think you have. Maybe we were on the same team. I don't know.
That one?
I think I don't think I've ever actually faced one of those like Vulcan cannon ones.
They are, or at least they were,
like 20 shots a shot
in that specific edition. Yeah. Okay. Well, especially if you got the tank commander on it too. But this is not the 40k rules panel.
It's all right. We'll set that up for next time.
Yes. Anyways.
When you guys are waiting for stuff to dry on your paints too, like if you're waiting for like things to so you can dry brush it or just because you want to look at it not moist. Sorry, Amy. Hair dryer. Like if you got a hair dryer, like obviously you wouldn't want to do that if you're streaming it, maybe because that would be loud. But you're just sitting at home. Yeah, give it a little level of hit with your hair dryer there. I know Adam Savage does that all the time when he's making stuff. He does. I don't feel like waiting for this paint to dry.
It's very true.
Yeah.
I rarely run into that problem because I typically will paint 30 or 40 models. And so by the time I finish washing the 30th or 40th model, the first 2 or 3 are already dry.
Yeah. And I definitely have to wait a little bit more for it for the kind of stuff I do. But I also get distracted easily, so I'll just put it down and wander away for like 3 days and come back to it.
That's a surefire way of letting it dry. That's for sure.
Now, if you ever do get bored, I know there was a device that was made that have started coming out really recently in veterinary medicine, where they actually had a cat dryer, which is like a chamber thing, and it's kind of like a cat carrier, but you put the cat into it and it just goes whoosh, and just like warm air goes through it, and it's not too loud because you don't want to torture the cat, right? But it will flash dry a significantly floofy cat fairly quickly if you have to bathe them. But yeah, you would certainly fit all your terrain pieces.
Yeah, waiting for wash to dry on terrain can be a real pain because I'm putting a lot on at a time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, especially if it's settling into cracks and stuff like that too. There's going to be sections that will dry much slower than others.
Yep.
Now, thinking on sorry.
No, go ahead.
Thinking on repairs, should we talk about pinning at all?
Yeah, let's
just about to.
I would love to.
Because I can see Steve has particular tools out, and
I'll get mine too.
This poor what is that thing?
This poor unfortunate.
This is poor unfortunate football player.
Oh, he's going
football playing skeleton. In the processes of cleaning up one of my disaster areas, that is the place I store all of my Warhammer stuff. Several of my boys here have snapped, but they had really skinny connection points because you've just got like a spine connecting to the spine. Vertebrae aren't exactly known to be strong.
You mean they are, but maybe not on.
They are, but they are only. They're only. They are. They're only. But they're only
a quarter millimeter of plastic.
They are strong, but not when there's no muscle or skin tissue to hold everything together.
Right. So, yes.
So we will. I have something ready to go with pinning and everything that goes on like that. So,
all right.
The secret weapon is trombones.
Wait, what?
Oh. Paperclip.
This was a twist that I was not prepared for. Oh, paper clips. Okay. Yeah. I was like, are you going to pick a box of miniature trombones? Because I am here for the trombone zone.
This is the trombone zone, as it is. Yeah. All right. So I have a pin vise. It's a drill. It's a hand-powered drill, so you don't necessarily need a ton of speed or power to get through these models. They're just plastic. I do have a powered drill sort of here tucked away for when I need to.
Yeah, I've got a Dremel over here somewhere for sanding and
for
stuff too,
similar occasions.
Yeah,
for similar occasions. And it's hang on, I gotta find my shot here. You literally just start drilling. You guys are more than welcome to talk while I'm sitting here drilling holes of.
Yeah. So yeah, like I got my pin vise online, not expensive because again I am cheap. I'm gonna just hammer that point home. You guys don't have to spend a lot of money to do this stuff, and it's better if you don't because it's more fun. But yeah, so pin vise and a bunch of little bits in various sizes. This is going from 0.3 millimeters to 1.6 millimeters. So nice little packet. I think it was about $12 for the whole kit and caboodle here. And yeah, like you can see Death Ray doing there. You just pop your little drill bit
Steve
in there.
as well. That's fine.
I'll call Steve Ray.
Mr. Death Ray.
Mr. Death Ray.
Ooh, Professor Death Ray. Hang on.
Dr. Death Ray.
Dun, dun, dun. Villain of the week, Professor Dr. Deathray, the third.
The third Esquire.
Yes, inevitably, with a fancy mustache.
Yeah. Rather than paper clips, I just have a roll of wire from like Walmart or something. Usually you find it around the picture hanging section.
Yes.
This is 0.7 millimeter wire that I've got here. I don't know what gauge that is. I'm very sorry, but I lost the packaging.
But it's not like the spun stuff, is it? Where it actually has like a rotation to it, right? It's just like straight.
No, it's a single strand.
Okay.
Yeah. Don't use that kind of stuff. I
always thought that stuff like curled up like crazies.
I used to. My job used to be repairing umbrellas was my job. And when you're repairing patio umbrellas, a lot of times they'll have like one of those wrapped steel cables. And if just one of those little threads of that cable comes undone and stabs you in the finger, it hurts so bad. It is the worst. Well, actually fiberglass. Trying to repair umbrellas with fiberglass is worse if you get a fiberglass.
Mustache is way fancier. I do like the suggestion of sanding models with a plastic explosive. I think that might be like you would probably sand a little bit too much off the edge, but like if you can risk it, go for it. But I do think what you're saying, Stu, about affordability is really important, because I can imagine if you're just getting into this and you're looking at all of the professional tools, all of the fancy stuff, and you make something that at the end you spent hundreds of dollars on equipment and tools for that you're not happy with because you don't have the practice.
Yeah, like
I can imagine that would be heartbreaking.
Like even this is the first piece of terrain I ever made. Just this little broken wall section. This is again XPS foam, dirt from outside that I threw in the oven to dry out, and hot glue. That's all this is.
Hey, what did you use for base there? For the piece.
On this guy. So this is,
or just in general.
I found this cardboard
that's a good
in my garage when I moved in. I don't know what it's from. It's like some weird old ugly wall paneling kind of thing, but it's nice. It's nice and rigid. What I do often use for bases, again on the same thread of affordability, I went online on Facebook or Craigslist or Garage Sale or whatever. I found someone giving away free binders. And I cut the vinyl coverings off, and inside there's this, which is a really dense, thick cardboard, often referred to as chipboard. And it does warp a little bit, so you want to be careful with it. But honestly, I use it for building. I use it for bases. It's really sturdy stuff. In fact, over here, this is a tile that I made. So you can see the backing is just this cardboard essentially. And then I've covered it in something similar to green stuff called milliput, and carved rocks into it. I plan on casting this, making a mold of it, and then just casting a whole bunch sometime in the future. But this cardboard is great because I got it all for free. I got like 30 binders, and it just took a little time to cut all the stuff out. So,
that's a really good idea.
Cheap.
All right. So
yeah, exactly. I like the query from Mr. Dork Tales of dollar store paint. I guess in my mind it would depend on the dollar store paint.
One thing to watch out for with the dollar store paints is they don't usually have as much pigment in them, so you may have to do more layers. But yeah, do it cheap. If you're just getting started, don't waste your money on all this expensive stuff until you know you like it, and then start building up more expensive materials from there, right? And that goes for any craft, not just this stuff. Like if you want to go start woodworking, start with the cheapest materials you can get away with that are still kind of decent. Build up from there, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Anything.
All right. So Steve, are you ready to go for that next portion there?
Yeah, I totally am. Okay, so what I've got here, I've drilled some holes, and then I've super glued the sticky end of a paper clip into, there we go, into his spine.
That looks painful.
It goes in probably to about there. Oh,
okay.
Roll that a little bit. There we go. We're about 2 vertebrae, 2 maybe 3 vertebrae in. And then
this is Deathway's surgical channel.
And then, yes, exactly. Next we'll be doing a lobotomy on James.
That won't be hard.
And I have a matching hole in in the top vertebrae of the pelvis here on this other guy. And yeah, I will just cut this to length. Doesn't have to be very long because the glue will do a lot of the holding. The paper clip is just to keep everything good.
I can't quite see what you're doing there, Steve. What kind of glue are you using?
This is just Gorilla brand super glue.
Nice. Yep.
It is. Again, it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be expensive. You don't need $30 glue. This was $7 at a hardware store.
Yeah, I use that one a lot. I also really love these tiny little tubes from Dollarama. If you're in Canada,
yes.
This isn't. This one's a bit thinner than the Gorilla Glue.
Yep.
So it's nice if you don't want it to be quite as gel-like.
Yep. There is a commission painter here in Vancouver who works for Toulon's painting commissions, and he almost exclusively uses the small single-use Dollarama store super glue bottles like that. Every single project, you have a fresh new super glue with a fresh tip.
Yeah.
So that's his claim to fame. He loves that. So that's how it goes. So a quick dry fit just to make sure that I'm not going to have any, make sure the paperclip isn't too long.
So I'm just gonna munch an onion ring real quick. Hang on.
I want
onion rings now. That sounds amazing.
So just to make sure that it fits.
You want
and
some
that there
ASMR?
Some ASMR.
Can we get onion ring ASMR? I would like this to be a redemption.
I'm sure that's probably out there, scarily enough.
Probably. Wow, you can really hear the crunch. Dork Tales had a good question about how to, I guess, like fix up craft paint or something that you found a little bit too flat, like ways to improve the quality of paint. Does that feel like something that folks here can answer?
I'm not 100% sure I know what you mean. Like you just got like a poor quality paint and you still want to paint with it and you just want it to cover better.
Oh, is there a way to add gloss?
Oh, okay. So it's too matte and you want it to be.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, you can mix it with like, if you go to an art store, they'll have like acrylic mediums. Generally when you're painting miniatures and terrain, usually you don't want a lot of gloss unless you're going within a certain effect, or you're painting something that's very like monochrome and you can't really differentiate with colors so much. So you want to differentiate with texture and with sheen, with gloss. But you can get like acrylic mediums that are like matte or gloss or satin, which is between gloss and matte. And you can mix that in with your paint and that'll absolutely do it. And then if at the end you just want the whole thing to be a little bit shiny, you can spray it because you should spray it with a clear coat when you're done anyway, to help protect the paint and whatnot, so it doesn't just rub off if you've got like Cheeto fingers.
Gamers are notoriously bad for Cheeto fingers. Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's why I specifically mentioned Cheetos, not sponsored.
Could be though. We should work on that next time.
Yeah. So this is what I usually use. It's just a clear spray that goes on, but you don't have to get matte. You can get other things, but for my purposes, I pretty much only use matte. So if you have a model that's too shiny, you can take that down with this. Or if you have a model that you want to be shinier, hit it with a gloss one.
Cool. Okay. Well, that's really helpful. Thank you.
Yep, it's very true.
I know stuff, you guys.
So I've just glued the two pieces together here with the safety paper clip in the middle, and then all I'm just doing is taking my X-Acto knife tip, and I'm just kind of scraping away the bulge out of the glue.
Oh yeah, scrape out that glue.
Scrape out the bulge, because that's how you end up with the big bracelets.
Just.
You people
are we
so
not
immature.
doing phrasing? Are we not doing phrasing? Okay.
We're not doing phrasing.
We're still mature here. That's why we're on the internet. Only mature people are on the internet.
Exactly.
And hey, Mr. Dork Tales, I mean, I want to see the doors and dragons and stuff. You should post that on the Discord. I want to see it.
And that's basically it. He's good to go.
Yeah.
I fixed him. His spine surgery went well.
Awesome. I feel like pinning would be more difficult for a wrist. I think I might have to do a pin on the outside and then make the pin part of the model. because it's really like wrist into arm, and it's a very, very thin arm, unfortunately, on this model.
Spine to spine.
Yeah, I suppose that's true. That's true.
It depends on what size of pin you're using to Millie. Like the 0.7 that I use, this model here that I'm painting, he's got 2 pins on the bottom of his feet on each one going in there, right? That's 0.7 millimeters, just over half a millimeter. For those of you who are American and only know inches, it's real small. Real small. About a 32nd of an inch.
Oh, let's see here.
We have a mod poll that has been redeemed. Mod Squad, you got to have polls now. We got to vote on things. We require democracy.
Whoa!
Apparently, I don't have my caliber doesn't have any power, so I can't even tell you how thick this paperclip is. That's not helpful at all.
Yeah, it's okay.
No,
I don't have a paperclip, otherwise I'd pull out my caliber. But which I just got for Christmas from Saffron in the chat. Nice. If you're still there, she also got me these brushes, which are the first time I'm using them. So,
Saffron's still around.
Hello,
Saffron.
I do see a question here that has just been sent to me. When you're drying out dirt or grass or whatever for making terrain, what temperature do you use in the oven? I use, they said, I'm guessing low, like 150, 250. That's about right. I do about 160 to 200 Fahrenheit, and then just until it's dry.
And that does 2 things. The first one is pulls all the moisture out of it. The second one is to make sure that any bugs or bug eggs are dead.
Yeah.
Kills them wicked dead.
It kills them wicked dead because you don't want to have a game and then the bases are wiggling because there's a little
worm starts crawling out.
That's the new level of horror I was not expecting.
Maybe this is a new tip. Is that you definitely want to play Tyranid, but you're like genes
your models
or something. You've got your models that are hatching in the middle of the fight. That sounds sick as hell. So hang on, pro tip, jotting that down.
Jot that one down, buddy.
I do see a comment here as well from Melon Art. I love your art, by the way. You posted in the Discord. I love it. It's fantastic. That skirt you did and the constellation is fantastic. But you say that you're afraid to paint minis and the size scares you. Don't be scared. Just do it. It's so much fun. It doesn't matter if you don't think it looks as good as what you see online, because at the end of the day, screw everyone else. This is for you. You're doing this for yourself. And if it makes you feel happy or relaxed, or you just feel proud when looking at it, that's all you need. I'm going to wax poetic for a second here, but I'm a firm believer that creating anything is one of the greatest acts that a human being can do, whether it's painting a mini, whether it's building a house, whether it's writing a story, writing a song, whatever. Creation is powerful, and it's fantastic. And I highly recommend, if you guys don't make anything, just start pick up some paper, do some origami. Creation is wonderful. It's healing, and everyone needs to make something. It's
I think
sets
it's
us apart,
very good
right,
for the
is
heart.
creation. Yes, follow your art heart, as Babs Tars wants to say.
Follow your art heart. Yes.
Very nice.
Monster, you were posting a link for me to watch. I don't know if I want to watch this. What is this?
And actually, my wife, she's setting up a YouTube channel as well, and she's painting her sewing room. And she was really scared to paint it. We picked this really nice green color. She wants to do a mural on it. And she was really scared to do it. And she just started doing it. It looks gorgeous. Maybe I'll share a picture in the Discord later and show you guys.
That's amazing.
If you want to follow her on Instagram, it is at Satanic Panic Apothecary.
That's a good name.
And yeah, you can see some progress of her painting the room, which is really cool, and it's gorgeous. And you're welcome. I'm glad that that meant something to you, because your art is gorgeous, and painting anything, whether it be again a picture, a mini, it's fun. Just do it. Don't be scared.
I'm just looking at Kelly's link right now. That's pretty cool, Kelly.
I'll have to look at it later.
Satanic Panic what?
Apothecary.
Apothecary.
Yeah. Yeah, because she also does. She also makes like traditional medicines and salves using herbs and stuff. She actually made one. It's a first aid salve. I'm just gonna talk about my wife for a second because I love her so much.
That sounds great.
There you go. Dork
She made
Tales
this solve.
listed
It's so
has
great.
put up the Instagram in the chat.
Oh, nice.
Oh, but I'm getting page not available. Maybe
Should we make a poll?
Ooh, potential security risk ahead.
Thank you, Ghoul, for the poll here. Can I vote in this? Yes, we should make a poll. Can I throw channel points into this vote, or did you make it? Oh, you made it irresponsible. Hang on. We can just throw infinite channel points into this vote. I hope you are ready for a complete violation of democracy here, Ghoul.
Well, we wait.
I'm going to end democracy.
Just want to show you guys this, just because I'm really proud of it.
Oh, it's beautiful.
That looks beautiful.
Making trees is super fun. Everyone should do it. It's probably one of my favorite things to do. So this is on an old CD that was covered in.
Hey, it's an AOL boot disc.
Yeah. Well,
who doesn't have 24 of those? Sorry, just kidding.
Right. It was an old DVD or old CD that had a bunch of PDFs of the Wizards of the Coast Star Wars game.
Ooh.
But I didn't need the disc anymore, so I glued stuff to it. Gluing stuff to stuff is my favorite.
How'd you make the trunk?
The trunk, I will tell you how I made the trunk. So this is wire, the same wire that I showed before, the same 7.7 millimeter wire, all twisted up. And you twist it up, and then you have you break off your twists a little bit to make the branches. And then once that was done, some people just like cover it in hot glue or even just paint over the wire. I bought really cheap polymer clay, like Sculpey, but much worse, online, and sculpted it all on there, drew in my texture, threw it in the oven to bake it, and it was done.
Yeah. If you want to look up tutorials on how to do those, they're commonly known as wire armature trees.
Yeah.
Okay.
And coming soon to my YouTube when it actually starts going, I will also have some of those tutorials on there of making trees and various, like a lot of what I'm talking about here today. I'll probably go over in a lot more detail on there once I actually get going. It's been a process. It's been a long time since I was in film school, so I'm relearning how to edit, and it's fun.
Yeah.
Now, where did I put the mini?
I know that feel. Editing for YouTube is the freaking worst. I'm just starting on that now, and it's like, oh, cripes. But I'm really looking forward to watching those because I think that tree looks amazing.
Yeah. Well, my link tree is in there, and that will give you a link to it, as well as my Instagram. All that stuff's in there. I have some merch on Redbubble if for some reason you want to wear my logo. Yeah, all kinds of stuff. Here's my mini. I found it. I'm going to give you guys just a quick update. So you'll notice here, especially those of you who are scared, I am not being careful. This is my base coat. I'm just slapping it on there, getting coverage. And then you can go back and clean stuff up later. This might look really monochrome right now because it is, but these are my base tones. So I'm going to build up highlights from here, right? So I've got sort of a darkish red for his skin because he's Hellboy, but legally distinct.
Heck man.
Yes. Hexer. Yeah, he's even got like the one broken horn on there, right? Like it's Hellboy, but it's not Hellboy, but it's Hellboy. So yeah, like especially when you're starting, don't worry about having those sweet creamy blends that you'll see on professional painters. Get the paint on there and then just work at it slowly from there. I keep losing everything that I was using. Like I don't even know where my paintbrush is now. Oh, here it is. All right. It was underneath my wire. But yeah.
Very good. All right. This guy looks like he's dry now.
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay. Let's see it. Let's see it.
Show that off.
So there we go. So I got this guy to start with. He's been I primed him white, and then I have run just a brown wash that was diluted 50-50 with just a medium that thins it without making it watery. It just makes it detailed is all it does. It makes the details pop in them. Quite see.
Sometimes washes are known as talent in a can.
Talent in a bottle or talent in a can. It is true, because just even that is worlds above what it was when I first started today. So I'm just blooping some paint on my paper towel. I don't even use a palette, generally speaking. I just smush it all onto the piece of paper towel and away we go.
Now, Steve, is blooping the technical term for that?
Nope.
Okay.
No, I think it's a scientific term. The technical term is much more casual. Yes.
I'm not measuring an amount. I'm not doing anything. I'm just putting some on the paper towel that I can then use.
Another advantage of using dropper bottles. Much easier to control that.
Yes. Yeah. Although that being said, you can just scoop out of the bottle and then go. So load your brush up until it's got paint on it. And then you brush the paint off until there is nothing left on. I don't know if I can get a good shot of this here. Whoa. So you load up your brush and then you get it off until you no longer see anything on the paper towel. Back up out here. You can test it on your thumb. Just a little bit is being left behind. And then just start flicking back and forth. Keep it light, not too heavy. And if it doesn't come up enough, you can just do it longer. Dry brushing, the key to dry brushing is not dry brushing harder or dry brushing heavier. It's dry brushing for a longer period of time.
Okay.
One thing I do when I'm starting to dry brush as well is I start moving my brush away from the model and slowly move closer.
Start out here, it's just sort of
I'm just gonna hold my brush here, and if you get in the way, that's your own
if you
fault.
happen to get hit by these flailing brushes,
No, dry brushing is great. I don't use it on minis very much, just because my aim isn't that good, I guess. So I do a lot more like, I guess we can kind of talk about it a little bit. I'm not really at the highlight stage, but edge highlighting, which is often used a lot on like anything with like armor. So like mechs, space marines, that kind of stuff. And basically you just take the edge of your brush. You don't really use the tip that much, and you find what you want to highlight and you just run the brush over, and then I'll kind of do that down as far as I think the highlight needs to go, and then I'll usually lighten the color of paint, and then just build up your highlights slowly. Generally, you don't want to just jump from like, oh, here's my dark brown and I'm gonna
The question for Steve,
I liked
actually.
Ebersina's question. No, you go first.
Sorry, just a really quick one connected to the dry brushing that you were just doing. Do you dry brush evenly across it, or do you do it more on like the back, where you're kind of expecting more light to be on?
Initially, I kind of come at it from every direction.
Okay.
Until you get up to your sort of your highest, lightest color. And then you're kind of looking at a top-down dry brush, because you're trying to get like, if the sun or the moon is overhead and it's casting light, that's generally where you want to land with your stuff. Also, depending on it, my last coat of paint when I'm dry brushing will typically be on hands, arms, faces, and shoulders only. Because it just makes it, you want the eye to be drawn to the face, the hands, the shoulders. You don't want your eye to automatically be drawn to the feet of the model, because nobody cares what kind of boots they're wearing.
Yeah,
it's true. Boots, I usually just kind of like a single highlight and then just move on. Yeah, exactly. One thing that's actually kind of fun to do, if you're like me and you've dried out some dirt in an oven, get a little bit of that the finest dirt you can on your brush at the end, and just sort of like spackle it around their boots a little bit. It works just like a pigment, and like a dry pigment that you get at an art store, and just kind of dirty up their boots a little bit, or their dutes, whatever. It's up to you.
Are we allowed to say
up their dudes if you want to, but that's that. Yeah, I was going to say you should not maybe show that model on the camera.
I'm not sure what his dupes are.
I'm not sure either, but I'm not sure that I want to know.
We had a question from M again. Where did I put it? They want to know what everyone's favorite step in painting is: dry brushing, highlighting, shadowing, etc.
Finishing.
Putting the model down and being done with it.
Good choice.
Yeah. looking at it and being like, oh wow, I did that. That's honestly my favorite part. There are parts like doing the base coats right now that like I'm doing my least favorite, but you kind of have to do it to get the color there, right?
Yeah.
I have to admit my favorite part of it is the turning point.
Yeah.
It's so you're putting colors on and you're not sure if this is the right color. You keep going, you're shading, you're highlighting, and then suddenly it pops and you're just like, oh damn, I love that. That looks great.
Everything just comes together. Yeah.
Nice.
We can go back. We'll take this one back to Reginald here. He looked dumb until I put the gore all over him, and then suddenly he looked amazing once I put the gore all over his faces. It gave him that pop. It made him look complete, because otherwise he's just really
just some guy
washed. He's just a really
guy,
pale white guy with a really stupid smile, but now he's got gore dripping off of his face. So it's the turning point, whether that's a finishing move or just getting your main colors blocked in so that they look different or whatever it is. It's
or finally managing to do some eyes that are centered and not
I'm still convinced that's not possible.
I haven't done it yet. Yeah.
Before the chat goes there, I am terrible at eyes, so we're not going there.
I'm not ready to do eyes on anything yet. I can show you some, well, probably not, because my cameras won't want to zoom that much, but I can find something that I did eyes that I think are halfway decent. But one of my favorite techniques for eyes is just put a dark wash into the eye and then just say that they're in shadow.
Ooh, yes.
Rather than trying to make a perfectly centered pupil.
I think after...
hang on, I'm stacking this poll.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
You've got to break democracy. Carry on.
After because I tended to play like Warhammer, like Horde armies. Like, oh man, it's got to be like the highlighting and like shadowing component, because you actually like, it's because you've just finished off like 50 guys, and it's like, all right, now I can actually do something like that's kind of interesting with them, and they're all just like all matte, military gray or what or green.
Yeah, and it's similar for me because it depends greatly on the model, right? Like if it's just like random guard troopers, it's the moment where I'm onto a more interesting model. But on an interesting model, I think for me it's actually the base coat, because that's sort of like where I've decided on how it's going to look. I feel like I'm sort of exploring different options and different like parts of the model until I have base colors where I'm like, okay, from a distance, this all
you got kind of the blank canvas
this all
effect.
fits well. I've got the I know where I'm going from here. Whereas when I'm starting to do like the very like the just blocking it out, it's like, yeah.
Well,
go ahead.
No, you go first.
I was gonna say, I see a question here looking for tips on weathering and dirt splatting.
There's a cute thing in the chat if you guys got a chance, but Kelly posted.
Oh no.
Oh, God.
So yeah, weathering and dirt splatting can definitely be tough to do. I'm not the best at it. I wish I could see the chat right now, but I do like some blood splatters.
It's a good meme.
I don't know if you can see the blood spatters on this chunky boy's fist.
Come on, focus, damn it.
Yeah, I gotta manually focus.
Oh yeah, I see it. Hopefully that's coming through.
Go to my Instagram, you'll be able to see it a lot better.
All right, you should do that.
Hashtag solid plug.
Yeah, I mean, I think for like dirtying up models, we just talked a little bit about, mixing some actual dirt in with your brushing at the end around the boots and stuff like that.
Some people will actually go out and buy like dry pigments to put on at the end, and then of course you want to seal it with your spray afterwards.
Yep. There's
Again,
there's a world of stuff you can get in like the model train community or the diorama building community that has weathering effects. You just like, a large bottle of liquid rust or verdigris, like copper oxide verdigris, or
But again, you can make a lot of this yourself too, right? So don't be scared by those price points that you'll see at these stores. Like to make something that looks sort of like a verdigris, like paint it with a brass color or bronze, and then mix in some turquoise paint with a little bit of water, or if you have it laying around, some like paint thinner stuff.
Or if you're not worried about health and safety, you just scrape some rust off, throw it in there, you're good.
Honestly, I use so much stuff
there's
that
nothing different between that and taking dirt from outside and drying it in the oven. It's exactly the same kind of thing. There's also, if you're just looking for kind of the general dirtiness of like somebody who's been foot slogging through a desert and they just have dust sort of halfway up their legs, you can just be a little bit messier when you're dry brushing on the base for your texture. Because then a lot of that color from their bases transfers onto their boots and their sort of like their calves and their shins, and it just makes it look like they didn't just step down on this didn't just step down onto their base. They've been there for the whole time.
All right, we got another question from M. Tips on lava and fire painting. I just started working on painting fireballs on some minis this weekend.
Ooh,
that's a good
I'm
one.
not the best at it, but it's something that I want to be better at because fire is super cool. Well, it's hot, but it's cool. So I start, usually when you're painting, you start with like your darkest color first and move up your highlights. With fire, I sort of do the opposite, where I'll start with a nice bright yellow in the center.
100%.
And then I'll put reds and oranges in and kind of mix it that way. Maybe mix up some thinner red with some brown to do a bit of wash in some of the darker areas.
Right, I think that makes sense. It's something that I've never really painted. I haven't even really thought about it.
Yeah. As far as like lava terrain, which is really cool, and I'm not the best at because I haven't really tried. One of the things that I like, I'm just trying to find some, but go to the dollar store, go to Michael's, go anywhere really. You can find just like sheets of cork. That makes such a good starting point for like volcanic rock or asphalt if you're doing like maybe something in more modern times or cyberpunk or something. You want to have that sweet sweet stuff. It has such a great base texture for that kind of thing. Paint it, start with a black base and move on.
Okay.
James, I've linked something to you. I can't post in chat because I don't have a Twitter account. So I've sent you something in Discord. If you could post that into the chat, it's Fast and Easy Lava Bases by the Two Loons painting guys. And they are also Hammer Pattern on YouTube.
Nice. On YouTube as well, really if you guys want to build terrain, I highly recommend several YouTubers out there. Black Magic Craft is one that got me started. Wylock's Armory, he took a bit of a break. He's back now. Bard's Craft, one of my very favorites. He's Swedish, I think. He's hilarious. He also is like me and likes to do stuff on the cheap. He uses a lot of natural stuff like pine bark that he's chopped up for flocking and that kind of stuff. Check those guys out. You'll find more.
So that
sounds really good.
As Stu was saying, with regards to lava and fire, anything that produces light, whether it be fire or if you're doing like an object source lighting technique on a model, you want to do the opposite direction of shading. So you want to start with bright in the recesses, almost as close to like pristine white as you can get it, and then working your way out darker and darker and darker, and then having a dark outside.
So I do see a couple of questions here that I would love to quickly address. One specifically on water effects for terrain. Water effects can be tricky. There's a lot of different things you can use. I think Woodland Scenics, who makes a lot of flocking and stuff, they're big in the model railroad community. They have several different water effects. Some people will use big casting epoxies. I did this little well here. It's super out of scale. I made it way too big.
I'm going to get my well. I'll be right back.
It's a well for ogres. That sounds
Exactly.
great.
But if you can see in there, we've got some water. What this water is from the dollar store, from Dollarama. They have a 5-minute epoxy for, you know, gluing stuff to other stuff. Excuse me. I mixed that up in a cup with just like a drop of brown and the tiniest little bit of green to make it look really like muddy and gross. Mixed it all up, dumped it in there, and there it is. It's cured. It's a nice little gross puddle.
Yeah.
Kind of looks like snot.
A nice little gross puddle.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like a little booger puddle inside this oversized well.
Nice.
Very nice.
Yeah, I think it looks great.
I've always wanted to play around with some of that resin stuff, you know, to do like rivers and streams and stuff like that. Oh.
They're really cool. And a lot of places that, like a lot of the railroading community, again, has tutorials on doing flowing water and motion of water around things, which is, if you're like, still water is all well and great in a well. But
trying to do that river.
Like I've got my little well that I built as well here.
Ooh, nice.
So it's inside the well. There we go. Look at
okay, yeah.
Get that guy out of the way there. I think I have an external light source I can turn on here. Hang on. Boop. Boop. So this was a magic piece that I built for one of my for my terracotta army. And
I was going to say confirming a message in Zoom chat.
Confirming a message in Zoom chat?
Yeah.
We're just getting our wind down warning because we are getting towards the end of our time. It's
holy moly.
We are indeed. I know how time flies, hey?
That didn't feel like it at all. But yeah, water effects are definitely something to look into, but you have to do your research on it because standing water is all well and great, but moving water is much harder to do.
One thing, if you want to add some basic ripples on like just like a pond or something, you're not trying to do anything too crazy, like big frothy, foamy rapids on a river, Mod Podge. Put some Mod Podge on there. You can kind of sculpt it around a little bit. You can make nice little ripples. And then once that's dry, you'll do a bit of a dry brush with white. And that'll get you some nice sort of ripple effects. If you want to learn more about doing water effects, I'm not the best guy to talk to right now because, again, I haven't experimented too much with it just because cost has always put me off of it a little bit. But if you go onto YouTube and look up Luke Towan, Towan, I believe. He does incredibly realistic dioramas for like model railroading and stuff. And his water effects that he does, like I've seen him do like a waterfall and then take a picture of it. And I look at it and I'm like, are you sure you made that? Because that looks like you just walked out into the forest and took that picture.
Oh, yeah. I'm looking at some of his stuff now.
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Right. Like I've learned so much from watching his stuff. Like it's crazy. Like if you want to do hyper realistic stuff, that's the guy to look at. My stuff's usually a little more cartoony because I just like that style.
Ain't nothing wrong with
hey, some of us like to have a cartoony look. That checks out.
I don't know what you mean, Bunny. You're a professional bunny on the internet.
I am a professional bunny on the internet. That's true.
But yeah, he's fantastic. You can learn a lot from watching him. There was someone else I was going to mention too, and Real Terrain Hobbies on YouTube as well. Fellow Canadian, I believe. Super cool guy. Also does some gorgeous, more realistic terrain.
Okay.
Well, this is an amazing list of resources. I'm wondering if what we should do after this call is if we should go back to our secret Discord conversation and compile this into a list that we can share with people in the Dork Tales Discord.
That is probably a really good idea.
That sounds like a fantastic idea.
Because that way we can combine all of these amazing resources together and then I can hit them with my face because I want to know them all.
Absolutely. Yeah. Learn all the things. That's sort of my credo. I love learning new things. I big fan of Nick Offerman, and he is the same way. He's like, you just make a thing, just do it. And so I really kind of run with that. And like I said before, I pick up hobbies left and right. I've done a little bit of a lot of things. So
yeah.
And nothing wrong with
and
that.
If you guys,
There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, for sure. And if you guys
honestly,
ever have any other questions, you can always find me on Instagram as well. Again, in the link tree, it's all there. Ask me questions anytime. I always have my phone on me.
Yep.
I'm happy to answer as many questions as I can for anybody. I don't care if I know you, if you're a stranger, it's fine. Just send me a message. If I don't know the answer, I'll find someone who does and point you in their direction.
I've just joined up with the group on the Dork Tales Discord channel. So if you want to ask me a question, send me a private message. I don't mind.
Yeah, you can find me on the Dork Tales Discord as well. Ask questions through there. I'm pretty active on there. I often post pictures of my pets on the pets channel. Best addition to the Discord ever. So go look at how cute my pets are. Here's one. Oh, he's gonna bump the microphone.
Aww.
Say hello, Bowie. He's blind and deaf.
Hello.
He just woke up, so he's like, "What's going on?"
My dog did 2 hours of snowshoeing yesterday, so she's pretty much dead on the couch at the moment.
For sure. All right, I'm gonna pass him back to my wife. There you go, buddy.
All right, I feel like we only really have a minute until we need to mysteriously fade to black. Do we have any last minute thoughts? Any final words of
There's my final dry brushing on the big guy here.
He is beautiful, Steve. Beautiful.
Yeah, oh yeah. That's turning out really good.
Voice of God here. How's
God.
everyone doing?
Ooh,
yes, that's right. That's right, Death Ray.
Oh no, not again.
Hey, so I just wanted to hop in real quick. It's just Kelly here, and I wanted to, or God, whatever you need. I just wanted to thank the four of you for being here and for running this. Yeah, I know what you did, Millie. Not just last summer. Ooh, that dates me as a millennial, like an old millennial. So that's going to be the craft panel today. So I really wanted to thank you all for coming and showing us your awesome work and for chatting about things and for getting people enthusiastic about getting started. I myself am a pretty recent crafter in the past year or so, and watching people like you really made me much more comfortable at getting into it and even putting stuff on my stream, as cheesy and awful as those videos that I was posting was. So I want to thank you all and just compliment you all for doing amazing work. So
thank you, guys.
Anytime. And like we said, we're all around.
Fool.
Send us messages if you hey, how do you do X? Send us a message. If we don't know, maybe we can pass you on to someone who does.
That sounds awesome. Sure. And you shouldn't have said any time, because that means that I have to make you do this again next Dork X.
Hey, I am here to serve.
Oh, you're going to regret those words. But thank you so much for being here, guys. If you enjoyed this panel, be sure to give us a small donation at Extra Life. All the money goes to the BC Children's Hospital. And, actually, my Stream Elements just posted that.
Wait, I'm on the team. I'm stealing some of it for the East Coast, but most of it goes
that's true. Most of it's going to the BC Children's Hospital. All right, so next up, we are going to have our mature inclusivity and consent-based role-playing panel, which is going to be a really busy one. We have special guest Bunny Hearted, we have special guest Tabletop Titties, and special guests another Kelly from Drinking and Screaming podcast. It's going to be great.
Sounds good.
It's going to be mature though, so if you're under 18, ask parental permission. So thank you guys for being here. We'll see you next time.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.